My name is Earl Willis. I was in the Marine Corps from 2009 to 2016. I've been at the refuge now for about 6 months. And what I'm going to share with you is my testimony on how I got there. So, upon me getting out of the Marine Corps, I was this motivated, driven individual, always finding a positive out of every single negative. I mean, there was a rare chance that you could ever get me down. I was never negative about anything. I was just, I guess, happy in my situation of just whatever that may be. Getting out of the Marine Corps, I wasn't regretting it. I did my time. I did my 8 years, and I kind of felt like Forrest Gump when he stopped running. I just kind of felt like it was time to go home. But as you're getting out of the Marine Corps, you go through a process of getting out, and you don't take it too seriously. You're just, you're on your transition out. You should take it seriously, but you're so used to doing all these classes 24/7 that this is just another one before you in your active service. All you know is military. So Marine Corps for me, that's what it would be for me. Others, Army, Air Force, whatever it is, I'm sure they have the same things. But you get out and you're just a baby in the world again. Everybody's been out in the world for as long as you've been in the Marine Corps, or for as long as you've been in service, and you really don't know what you're getting into until you get out there. So for me, for the 8 years that I was in, the 8 years that all my friends and family were back home, they kept moving forward, and I just kind of stood stagnant in service while I was gone. And when I come back, that time didn't stop, it just kept moving. And so I had a lot of catching up to do. And when you get here and you start talking to friends and what they're doing, then you start basing your life off of what they got going on and what kind of money you can make and these materialistic things that they have that in that time mean the world to you. What ended up happening is that I ended up getting a job. And it was a job while I was going to school. I really didn't know what I was going to do yet. Over, a 2 or 3 year period of time from being out of in 2016, I ended up getting a divorce. It was rough, I was out on my own, trying to find a place to stay. It kind of brought up a lot of my childhood from moving place to place on my own. Just kind of feeling like I didn't belong anywhere. So, I made my own path. I got into that same realm again. It started bringing up old feelings that I had pushed down for so long. And so, I would just, whenever I would get those feelings, I would start drinking. And, I didn't really think it was too big of a problem because I would just do it every now and again. It was just maybe on a weekend or when I was out with friends. And so at the time when I went through this divorce, I still had to get my kids, and I didn't know how that was going to go. The divorce ended up being super rough, and I didn't have really a bed for my children. So I was living with my friends, but it didn't feel like home because I didn't feel like I could call it home. I didn't have solid ground to stand on that I can call mine. I was searching for an apartment. You know, I had a full tank of gas, like $50 to my name. So I was looking for an apartment with $50 and who can take me. So I was looking for an apartment that would take a zero deposit and just be able to move me in on an application fee. That's kind of what I was hoping on. The day it was hot that day, and then out of nowhere, it started misting and started raining, and my time was running out on looking for an apartment. So what had ended up happening is I ended up finding a place that they would take the $50 that I had, and they were actually looking for $75. And I told them I only had $50 to my name, and my kids were coming. And this entire time, I wasn't even thinking about, I don't have any furniture in my place. I was just thinking about, I got my kids. I want my children. And I remember it wasn't dark outside yet, and the rain had subsided. I ended up getting the application fee done, and I remember keeping my kids outside long enough to play, it would give me long enough to think about what I was going to do about them, where they were going to sleep. And so we ended up going up to the apartment, and I remember walking into my apartment, and my son asked me, "Dad, what happened to all your furniture? Did somebody come steal it?" "No, man, we're just gonna play games on the floor. We're gonna do that." We ended up playing games long enough to where they fell asleep that night. And I found a sheet, and I found, I think I had a sheet. I believe it was in my truck, or maybe somebody lent it me or something. But I didn't have a pillow, and I ended up stuffing a whole bunch of shirts that I had in my backpack, in my suitcase, together, and using it as like a field pillow. I would stuff my shirts into my one big t-shirt, and then I would tie both ends off, and I would use it that way. And I remember my kids sleeping on me in the corner, and I remember just looking out, like, man, I've got a long, long road. And it was hurting my feelings seeing my children sitting there and just sleeping on their father with not a care in the world. And I ended up rebuilding my life slowly, one day at a time. I started rebuilding my life. I thought everything was going great. I had the nice truck. I had my kids. I had my own apartment. It wasn't, fully furnished. I had this little computer screen TV, but we'd always make jokes about it, my friends and I. And then I met this girl. She ended up being one of the best things that could ever happen to me. And what she would always try to do is try to put my nose in a Bible, talk about scripture, and she would talk about these things, and I would just kind of brush it off my shoulders and be like, yeah, okay, I'm listening, but that's kind of your thing. I'm here at church with you. I'm here to show up. I want to be a good example for my kids, so I'll give it a shot. We never argue. We were together for like 8 months, and we never, rarely, argued. She told me at the beginning she doesn't like drinking. I don't like it. So I told her I would quit. I just wouldn't do it. Not drinking. I had a good job. I had this truck. I started getting all these materialistic things that I was so proud of. I was starting to catch up. And that's when everything turned. We ended up going to a buddy of mine housewarming party. We ended up going up there, following each other. We both drove, and Saturday had rolled around for the housewarming party. I had a lot of people going on. First thing in the morning. First thing I did, without even, thinking nothing about it, was, pick up a drink. We were having an outing. We had a lot of people coming over. You know, we were just cooking, setting up the house. You know, just enjoying our time together. And it ended up going from like 9 in the morning till, I don't know, somewhere around probably about 2 or 3 in the morning. Somewhere around, I don't even know what time. It was dark outside. We were playing cornhole. That I don't remember anything. I don't remember a single thing. I woke up the next morning and I was in a farm somewhere. And my clothes were torn. My leg was hurt. I had lumps on my forehead. And I was sitting there and I was just like, what happened? And it was for the first time in my life to where I would sit and think of what I did the night prior and nothing was coming to mind. So next thought was let's figure out where I'm at and let's get back and let's figure out what happened. I think about an hour or two passed and it was Sunday morning, like we were supposed to leave that day and go back home. And I was like, my girlfriend's still back there. She's my only ride. I got to get back so we can get out of here. I got back to the back of the house. I found it and I knocked on the door. Nobody was answering. I hear people talking, but nobody was answering. Something went down last night that everybody's angry at me for. I get it. And then the blinds came up. Then when the blinds came up, the girl I loved, she was physically hurt. And the first thing I could think about was, what happened? What did I do? And apparently there were a lot of people that were hurt. And I was just thinking to myself, what have I done? Then I would think about my life real quick, and I was sitting there on the curb. And as I was sitting there thinking about what I've done, it came back to the divorce. Of how I rebuilt my whole life. And how hard that struggle was. The grind. How hard I had to fight to get back to where I was. And I do something like that. I still don't remember. All I know is from what people told me. And as I was sitting there thinking about my life and what I've done, I realized I've lost myself in life. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then the police showed up. That was the longest night of my life. I ended up getting to a bail bondsman place. And I didn't have a ride home. I knew I wasn't going to Uber home. 4 hours in an Uber would completely out of the question. They'd already got me out of jail. Somebody already paid $500. That already owed $500 towards somebody, and they already didn't want to do that. And I didn't want to be any more of a burden than I already was. And then I received a phone call. That phone call was my girlfriend. just asking me how I could do something like that. And honestly didn't have any idea what I had done. We ended up talking about how I could get home. And to think that I put this woman through so much and she still is having a conversation with me like that shows me a lot about her heart, her soul, and who she is as a person. We ended up finding a Greyhound bus that was somewhere around the area that would have got me home for like $60. I had a friend end up texting me on my way home that I had met at a coffee house called like Brew and Bake or something like that. She was from the Warriors Refuge. Her name was Earl.
Earl and I, we are childhood friends, but there was a lot of disconnect. Of course, you grow up and move on. He was military and everything. And I had reached out to him because I wanted him to help judge the car show portion of this poker run that we were having. It did end up getting canceled because of COVID. And he's like, if anything else comes up again, just get with me. He wanted to volunteer, he wanted to get something done. And so there was a golf tournament right before all of this. I had sent him a text message just reminding him of the golf tournament. Hey, am I still gonna see you Friday? How's everything going? And he was very, very short when he was messaging me back. And one of the messages that he sent was, he said, look, I just can't, he's like, you wouldn't believe what I have going on right now. He didn't answer the first time, and I called him right back, not even 5 minutes later, and he answered and just said what was going on. He was crying, I was emotional, and everything that I know about the Warriors Refuge, everything that I've always pushed, kind of just left my mind. The only thing, I was like, I need to go pick you up. Like, I'll go pick you up right now. Like, where are you at?
And, she offered to come get me right away. She was asking me all these questions, where I was at, where I was going, what I was gonna do. When you get back into town, call me and I'm gonna come get you. And I didn't really know what the Warriors Refuge was at first.
Let's get you down here. What do you need? What can I do? And it was surprising, like I reacted out of pure emotion. And so we kept on, and he was like, well, I'm at my sister's house. He's like, my kids are gonna be here for the rest of the week. He said, can I go afterwards? And we finally got to a point in the conversation where I was comfortable with that.
I ended up getting to my sister's, and she set me up with a room in the dining room and air mattress. We're going on the same boat here again. I couldn't believe what I had just done. I'm putting my kids through this all over again. Their father's a failure. Their father's not going to come back. They don't deserve me. And these thoughts, that's one thought of a million. The thoughts were so powerful that I could see my children. I could look at my children, but I didn't know they were there. I was just looking at a dark hole. It was dark. I was alone again. I was in the corner of my family. I was being judged by so many. And I started thinking about ways to kill myself. And these thoughts started getting so overpowering. I was finding a way that would be the easiest, that I can do it. And go to sleep and not have to wake up. And it just be of some natural cause. And then my daughter ended up waking up and looking over at me. She didn't even hesitate. She got up and she ran over to me and she was hugging me. It was the most warm felt hug I've ever had in my life. Then my son got up and he came over there and he started crying with me. And I couldn't do anything but sit there and say, I'm so sorry. And then the week ended and I ended up going to the week ended and I ended up going to
Monday came and I showed up to his apartment and he was sitting on the stairs and he had his backpack and that's it. I pulled up and he was sitting on the stairs and he looked at me and he shook his head. You know, he acknowledged that he saw me and just kind of sat there for maybe another minute. And then he, you know, gets up and comes to the truck. Throws his bag in the back and, you know, he said, am I really doing this? You know, and I grabbed him and I said, yep, you're really in the truck. And, you know, I just hugged him for a minute and, you know, I explained to him what the process would be like. I said, this is, you know, what's going to happen. You're going to come in. We're going to get you with a case manager. They're going to talk to you. You're going to have different programs. You're going to be able to get the help that you need.
I was getting help from somebody I didn't physically, personally, you know, I didn't know on any level. And I'm relying on this person to figure something out for me because I didn't have anything else figured out. She just kept reminding me, you know, just take it a day at a time and let's just take today on.
I'm very grateful for my refuge family, my coworkers. They're our family. They really do take care of all of our veterans that come through the door.
I met with my case manager, which was David. And David set me up with the things that I was about to move forward with. He was the man that I would be talking to throughout my process at the refuge. You know, he would be in charge of things that I had going on through my process of fixing what I had to fix within myself.
Earl came to us several months ago. He was going through some fairly serious issues personally. We brought him in, we interviewed him, we housed him, and within just a few days we had him plugged into several programs, counseling and other things to help him, and he really ran with it. And by really running with it, I mean he plugged into everything. He just went with it, and within it wasn't no time you could see the difference. He had some outside issues with family that we dealt with, and that as case manager, that's what we do, is we help with whatever issues they have, and then we plug them into the counseling, into the programs, and get them set up for that to better themselves.
As far as like AA, any type of anger management counseling, he told me and showed me the schedule that we would be on Monday through Friday. He told me the times that people would leave for their appointments. He would set me up with resume builders. he would set me up with all these different steps to move forward with myself. As I was going through these classes that David was setting up through AA and these anger management classes, it was teaching me that I wasn't alone. It was teaching me that there was a lot of people going through their own trials in life. Anyways, I had a roommate when I first checked in. I was with him for a couple months. It was we were kind of going through the same thing, but differently, if that makes any sense. He had his process, I had my process, but we were in the same room. We were able to talk to each other all night. During the day, we would go to meetings together. He had been there before me. I believe they try to set you up with someone that's been there for a little bit first. So he kind of knows the ropes, just like anywhere you go. And my roommate showed me a lot about the place. He showed me a lot about what to do when you wake up and before you go to bed, and going to these classes and what you get out of them. The roommate process helped me out. As far as the refuge, looking back on it now, I think about it, as my time at the refuge is coming to an end. Not everyone has an Ariel. Not everyone has a child. Not everyone has family. Not everyone has somebody to help them out. Not everyone has someone to drive them, to make them better at a snap of a finger. Like maybe my situation, my daughter saved my life. My son saved my life. These people that reached out saved my life. And I believe one of the things looking back at the refuge is that the refuge is or can be the child that saves your life. It can be, your Ariel. It can be your next chapter in your life. Because if you needed a restart button on taking control of an addiction or a problem that you may have in your life that you've stumbled, the refuge is there to help you. The refuge is there to give you a backbone again. The refuge is there to put you back in the fight. The refuge is to love on you when you feel like you can't love on yourself anymore. The place is surrounded by veterans. The place is, swarmed with people that just love unconditionally, and sometimes that's all we just need. We're not put here on earth to judge somebody. We don't know somebody's process. We don't know somebody's story. We don't know where they came from. And it's not our job to sit here and boast about somebody that you know nothing about. The hardest thing that we can do is love somebody and forgive somebody even though you don't want to. And the refuge taught me all about that. So if you're watching this video, chances are you know somebody or yourself needs some type of help. If I'm looking back on it now, I wish I would have gotten help when I didn't need it instead of the time when I did need it. Through this time before the refuge, I would have never seen myself as a person that would have had suicidal thoughts, lost myself, be a negative person. We think about these things when it's already too late. Reaching out and doing the hardest thing that you can probably possibly do as a human being is allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to make a phone call. To make a phone call to a complete stranger, having no idea what you're going to get into, but doing it anyways. Because it saved my life. And I'm trying to save yours.